Well, part of the answer, at least, is making sure that it's authentically you that is coming across, because that's the version of you that we perceive and that we relate to or not. And it's all about perception.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. All right, well, this brings me to the point in the evening, which is my favorite point. I get to learn a whole lot of really cool stuff. And we've got this cool guy called Dr. Chris here, who's going to talk to us tonight about confidence on camera. So video being one of those mediums that I'm sure we all know now we can't avoid. And we have to get our mug out there on video somehow. In fact, pretty much all of us have had our mug on video here tonight. So Chris is going to help you to put yourself in your best light in here tonight. But not only that, there are Zoom meetings out there. So Zoom has just become part of our vernacular. Teams, Slack, so lots of video, one-to-ones, as well as doing things like video for social media, for your advertising, for your website, and for testimonials as well too, and a range of other purposes. So I've just remembered another tool I need to talk about next time to do with video testimonials, which is really cool. So if I forget, someone remind me. So we have Dr. Chris Willems. He is a specialist communication consultant and coach. He's had about 20 years in the communications field. He's been in all sorts of creative industries. He's been in television as well. In fact, international award-winning television. He's been involved in education. And he's also been involved in things like stage and screen, direction and design. He's a keynote speaker. He's an on-screen presenter. He's also a published author and a music composer, which I did not know. So tonight, and you'll often see him on LinkedIn. He does these little micro masterclass videos on LinkedIn as well. So look out for him sort of there. And tonight, he is here to talk to us about a simple video framework to help us with or to help you with your confidence to win clients and boost sales. So let's put your hands together and welcome to the screen, Dr. Chris.
Thanks very much, Nick. I'll just do the thanks everyone. I'll just do the screen share stuff there. That's still got ticked. That's good. Share. So can everyone hang on? I just got to go into bear with me to that there. Okay, can everyone see the welcome screen?
Can see the welcome screen. Looking good.
Great. Okay. All right. Thanks very much, Nick, for that nice introduction. And good evening, everyone. Thanks very much for the opportunity to have a chat to you this evening. And just for your information, there's a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So if you have any burning issues or questions, and if you can stick them in the chat or hang on to them until the end, that would be great. So let's kick off, shall we? And hang on, does it every time. There we go. All right. Okay, so this webinar is interactive. So if you can have your cameras on, that would be great. But for the moment, keep your microphones on mute until we need them. And it's information and discussion only. It is not, I repeat, not a sales webinar. Okay. So what's it about? Well, it's about making business videos. So I thought I'd start with a couple of short business videos.
Do you feel like you come across as a complete dick on Zoom and other video conferencing platforms? I know I do. But you don't have to, because this quick, intensive online microcourse will help you. It's called How to Not Come Across as a Complete Dick on Zoom and other video conferencing platforms. So the short, intensive online microcourse will transform how you come across in any video conferencing context. So contact me and never come across like a complete dick on video again. Unless, of course, you want to.
Unless, of course, you want to. And I imagine that most people don't want to, but I've deliberately built into that short video fairly common errors or fairly common issues that people have using video. And so from that, I'd like to go to a proper business video.
Hi, my name's Dr. Chris Willems, and I've been coaching in corporate communication for more than 20 years. And it might surprise you to know that my background actually spans about 40 years in the performing arts and television. And it might surprise you even more to know that for 25 of those years, I was a professional mime artist. Now, I'm just about here, you're thinking, well, what the hell's mime got to do with corporate communication? Well, when you consider that mime, at its most fundamental, consists of the analysis, manipulation, and stylization of body language, and that body language forms so much a part of human communication, it's not that surprising. So what's mime got to do with it? Well, actually, just about everything. It's all about you making an impact.
It is indeed all about you making an impact. And in fact, it's all about you making a global impact and becoming a global leader. Let's talk about leadership and communication, because the research tells us that the skill considered most critical to effective leadership is communication. That same research also tells us that it's the skill in need of greatest improvement in the majority of businesses, which is a bit of a worry. But there are different kinds of communication, and my own career reflects quite a few of those. And I've learned a few things over the long and checkered career. One is that life's not linear. The other is that everything's ultimately connected, and no experience is ever wasted. Everything you do informs everything else that you do. Everything you do adds quality, depth, richness, and texture to everything else that you do, irrespective of the field of professional practice. Everything you do teaches you something, and everything you learn is useful not just for you, but for those you might teach, coach, or mentor as well. No experience is ever wasted. And it's precisely where those apparently unrelated fields intersect and interact that the most creative solutions are to be found, in my experience. So these are some of the organizations I've worked with, for, or consulted to over the decades. And you'll notice they're all really different. And so adapting one's skills to those uniquely different organizations and their uniquely different messages is a really interesting challenge. And it's great to have to do that, because you have to then adapt to what those organizations do and how they communicate what they do. So by now you're probably asking the question, well, how is this relevant to you? Well, it's relevant to you because it's all about you, the unique individual that you are, and that your business is, just like all those other businesses, making that impact. So who are you now? So the question is, who are you? You might be a business owner, so you engage with shareholders, directors, a bunch of different stakeholders. You might be a CEO, engage with some of the same, but also different stakeholders. You might be an entrepreneur, so you engage with, yes, some of the same, but also investors, selling your ideas, your concepts, and your passion. And in my experience, it's often the passion that sells the idea. So which of these is you? I suspect it might be all of the above. And the common factor in all of the above is engagement. And we achieve engagement through effective communication, which is exchanging ideas and knowledge with clarity and purpose. Those operative words there are really important, clarity and purpose. That's what we're going to be talking about. So whilst you are no doubt successful, you are no doubt high achieving and the complete professional, you may have a chink in your armor. And that is that more than 85% of all online communication these days is via video. So yes, it's certainly all about you, but it's increasingly all about you on camera. Trouble is, you hate talking to camera. If you do, welcome to the human race. Most people do. As one of my clients so beautifully put it, if there's anything worse than listening to yourself, it's watching yourself. Unfortunately, though, we no longer have a choice, because 500 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. That's not a typo. 500 hours are uploaded to YouTube every minute. So we've all got to find a way of cutting through that tsunami of visual information. And 91% of businesses use video as a marketing tool. And those who don't have a number of reasons why they don't. A lack of time, don't know where to start, can't convince the boss, too expensive, unclear about the return on investment. Roughly 20% don't express a reason or can't express a reason. I suspect the reason is, I hate talking to camera. I also suspect, I'm not a psychologist, I wouldn't know, but I also suspect that some of those reasons given above are also rationalizations for, I hate talking to camera. In his wonderful book titled What Makes Us Tick, renowned Australian social researcher Hugh Mackay suggests that the most fundamental desire driving all of us is the desire to be taken seriously. And I would argue that in the professional context, this is magnified by a factor of many times, because we know what we're talking about. We're used to being listened to, and we're used to being taken seriously because we are complete professionals. So why is it then that when it comes to talking to camera, as those complete professionals, we allow ourselves to come across as complete amateurs. Why do we, within the space of half a minute, undermine professional credibility built up over half a lifetime out of a simple lack of awareness of ourselves, our visual environment, or how to present our information to a camera? Because talking to a camera is very different from talking to 400 people in an auditorium, 40 people in a seminar, or even 4 people in a boardroom. There's no visible audience, there's no feedback, there's just this piece of glass. And for most of us, this piece of glass is surprisingly intimidating. So what I'd like you to do now is just take a moment to have a look deeply into that piece of glass where all those lights converge deeply into that lens and say out loud after me, "This is my best friend, not my worst enemy." You ready? And this is my best friend, not my worst enemy, because it needs to become your best friend. We're talking about transformation. We're talking about transformation from business owner to business leader and ultimately business presenter. Someone who knows a bit about presenting is this bloke here, Larry Emder. He and I set up a presenters course some years ago, and he said some very nice things about that work we did together. But the line I want to draw your attention to is this one here, turning complete amateurs into ready to perform talent. Now, I'm not for a moment suggesting that any of you are complete amateurs in terms of your business, but very few of us are professional business presenters on video. We're talking about transformation. And this is really common. I'm a really experienced presenter. Audiences love my live presentations. So why do I feel so intimidated by the camera? Well, because it's a different medium. It's a different communication context that requires a different communication approach.
It's interesting when we look at conversations and we look at being taught about presentations, a lot of us are confident as speakers, but we're all still scared of cameras. So it was great to come to something with Chris today and to be able to retain our confidence in what we talk about, but learn how to talk in front of a camera and not be shy.
Learning how to talk in front of a camera and not be shy. It's a different context. If we look at live presentation for a moment, these figures always blow people away. 55% is how you look and move and carry yourself. It's body language, non-verbals. 38% is how you sound, the tone of your voice, which leaves a miserable 7% in terms of the words that you say. So if these three things aren't working together, if they're incongruent, no one's going to take a blind bit of notice of you or your business or your message. If we translate that to the on-screen context, and let's assume the words are worth about the same, you as a presenter are really important. I know you are in the live context as well, but now you're literally in a frame, okay? So that amplifies and magnifies everything. Micro expressions become really important. What you share that frame with are the visuals around you and behind you, and they take on a whole new level of importance in video as compared to on stage presentation. So video is and will continue to be and continue to grow as the dominant online communication tool, as Nick has alluded to earlier. You are the face of your business. You're the personification of your organization. So how you come across determines how your business comes across and is perceived and judged in the professional world. And so you need to get comfortable and confident presenting to camera, not only for your own professional credibility, but for that of your business as well. So it's all about becoming comfortable, confident, and credible on camera. And that, again, is transformation. So who do you want to be as a business presenter? If you're going to use video, you need to make video work for you. You need to make it work for you, not against you. And you need to make it work for you, that unique individual that you are and that your business is. Because it's not just a carrier of information, it's much, much more than that. It's the creator of perceptions. So if we go back to first principles for a moment, I mean, as we all know, business communication fundamentally is two people talking to each other. Online business communication is those same two people talking to each other via a screen. That's what we're doing now. We're so used to doing these days. And I love this quote because it reminds us that the more we use technology, the more important those human connections are. Okay, the human communication, human relationships between business people. So the crucial consideration then is to keep it human. But how do we do that? How do we achieve that human engagement in this increasingly depersonalized digital AI environment? Well, part of the answer, at least, is making sure that it's authentically you that is coming across, because that's the version of you that we perceive and that we relate to or not. And it's all about perception. So how are you actually perceived on camera? We're very rarely perceived the way ourselves the way other people perceive us. Do you come across as professional and credible, or as timid and insecure? You find out by going back to basics and asking yourself some fundamental questions, like what makes you you? Who are you? Who's the you that's sitting there? What defines you? Have you experienced successes and failures? And I say perceived failures because in my experience, things that seem like failures at the time often turn out to be successes, or at the very least turn out to be catalysts for success further down the track. Have those things affected your confidence? Absolutely they have. Does that manifest in how you come across? Absolutely it does. And the reason this is so important is because it's all about perception. If you look at these three people here, all three are really good quality, experienced journalists. Two of them are used to being in the very foreign environment of a TV studio. You don't need to be a body language expert to work out which of those three people is less comfortable in that foreign environment. It's all about perception. And if it's all about perception, it's all about managing those perceptions. And I'm assuming that the perception you want to create is one of authority, of credibility, and of leadership. And we achieve that by clear, concise communication, particularly on camera. Those two things are mutually interdependent. You can't have one without the other, okay? It's kind of like two halves of the brain. Unfortunately, though, you don't have a lot of time to do that. You've got about 3 seconds before you are one click away from oblivion. But if you get video right, you can take your best business ideas to the world. To do that, you need to understand some of the basics of the medium. I know many of you will understand the basics of the medium anyway, but I'm just going to touch on a couple of things. So if we look at some good things about video, it's repeatable and it's cost effective. You record it once, you can play it any number of times, any number of places around the globe. And because of that, you have that huge reach around the globe. And it also can potentially go viral because of that huge audience. Some not so good things about video are that it's repeatable and it's cost effective. But if cost effective equals cheap looking, it can also equal nasty. And if that huge audience doesn't like what it sees, you're doing yourself and your business a serious disservice. And I'm sure we've all seen things that have gone viral for all the wrong reasons. And I'm sure you don't want to be part of that, or your business wants to be part of that. So apart from self-consciousness, there are some other factors to consider when you're making business videos. There's cost, there's your credibility, your message. What's your message? Are you engaging with your audience? What's it doing to your reputation if you make bad videos? What's it doing to your business reputation? So the challenge is how to accommodate, integrate, and reconcile all of those factors. And yes, sometimes they're conflicting, but at the same time come across as authentic and human. Well, some people are better at it than others. Here's one case study that I've chosen. Have a look.
Hey everyone, it's Valtteri Bottas,
This is Zhou Guanyu.
and we would like to welcome Stake to join our Formula 1 team.
We're really excited to go racing with Stake this year.
And of course, to see all of you at racetracks around the world.
Stay tuned to see our new car livery on 7th of February.
And thank you for the support, as always.
Okay. Let's have, if you know who they are, you can pop it in the chat box if you like. But I can assure you, for those of you who don't know who they are or what they do, there are 2 of only 20 people on the planet that do what they do at the level that they do it. Okay. What do they do? We'll find out shortly. Do they connect with us? Is that video? Do those 2 very talented, very skilled professionals connect with us, their audience? Some prompting questions to ask of that video, and also of yourselves when you're making business videos. What's the message? What's in the background? From my view, all I can see in the background is an empty studio. Does anything visual relate to their professional field? They look actually like a couple of mime artists because they're wearing black t-shirts and black, like almost tights, but they're not mime artists. So does anything visual reflect their status as those exceptionally skilled professionals? I would argue not. Who they are and what they do is they're Formula 1 drivers, racing drivers. Exceptionally skilled. They're really like 2 of only 20 on the planet. So irrespective of one's outstanding skill, knowledge, or achievements, or paycheck, indeed, very few of us are natural presenters. So if you're not a natural presenter, don't give yourself a hard time. Rather, do something about it. And in that context, I highly recommend the work and writings of Professor Selena Bartlett, who talks about neuroplasticity and retraining the brain, changing the brains, no matter how old we are. So some of the crucial considerations are keeping it human, keeping it authentic, and keeping it engaging, and at the same time, create high impact, professional quality, credible business videos. So how do we reconcile all of that? How do we do that without breaking the bank? Well, the answer is literally in your pocket. The cameras in these devices that we carry around are really, really good quality. But someone who knows more about cameras and filmmaking than I do is this bloke here, Sam Mendes, who's directed the odd decent film like Skyfall, 1917, a few others, who says of these cameras that they are very, very good. So everyone can make a film, but not everyone can tell a story. And that's the difference. So what's your story? What's your business story? We're about to find out, because what I want you to do is to shoot a selfie video that goes for 15 seconds. All right, that's all, 15 seconds. Make it about your business, because presumably you know a fair bit about that. And you've got 1 minute to shoot it. So you've got 1 minute shooting time to shoot a 15-second video. I'll time you. So whip out your camera, turn it on, and your time starts now. Okay, how did we go? Let's have a quick look. Who went vertical and who went horizontal? I've just put out a video about whether to go landscape or portrait. And ultimately, landscape gives you more options, because if you want to go portrait, I suggest you shoot in landscape and then crop it, because it's better quality. Too much light, not enough light. Make sure you're not a silhouette. Make sure there's enough light on you. If the camera can't see you, your audience can't see you. And who looked at the lens and who looked at the screen? If the eyes looking back at you in playback are not looking at you, that means you're looking at the screen, not the lens, when you shot the video. Okay, so find that little almost invisible dot on your device, and that's the lens. And did anybody go appreciably over or under 15 seconds? It's remarkable how much information you can squeeze into 15 seconds. It's equally remarkable how quickly 15 seconds comes screaming up at you when you're trying to squeeze that information in. So it's about packaging your information. So as a complete professional in the 21st century, we need to understand the video medium. We need to develop what I call our visual vocabulary, and we need to overcome our fear of the camera. Why? Because you no longer have a choice. As Nick said before, we no longer have a choice. And one of the reasons we no longer have a choice is this little ball of fluff here, which, as you well and truly know, shut the whole place down for a couple of years, and we all found ourselves in the Zoom room, and we're back there tonight, okay? And despite the fact that we've been using Zoom for a few years now, as a species, we actually haven't gotten that much better at it. And here's a useful example from people who should know better. First thing is about framing. Anything with a yellow oval around it is about framing. Mostly that's about headroom, okay? We're used to seeing a certain amount of headroom. So when we see too much headroom, it sticks out like anything. Lighting, make sure you're not a silhouette. It's great to use natural light, but make sure you're not a silhouette. Make sure the light's not behind you. Backgrounds, bookcases, that's pretty common. Yeah, they're not too bad. Sometimes they can be a bit visually busy. And if you look in the middle there, Liz Truss there has got a flag growing out of her head. By contrast, bottom left corner, Amanda Milling, I think her name is, very clean background, totally uncluttered. Trouble is, her hair happens to be the same, pretty much the same color and tone as the background, so she's kind of a bit like a face floating in space. And orientation, what I said about going vertical, you're losing 2/3 of screen real estate when you go vertical in Zoom, okay? So those 3 ticks there, they're not too bad. Lighting's a bit dodgy, but generally that's okay. Now, I don't know what Boris Johnson was thinking, but it certainly wasn't about framing the shot. Now, these people, because of who they are, have legions of media advisors, okay? And if you look down at the bottom of the screen there, it says press team headquarters, and there's no one there. And I think by the looks of it, they might have all been down the pub, because they certainly weren't advising their charges about how to maximize the use of the medium. As you probably know, eye contact is one of the most fundamental aspects of human communication, all right? And when we're on Zoom, we assume we're making eye contact. At the moment, yes, of course, I'm making eye contact because I can see all of you on screen. However, from your point of view, I'm not, until I lift my gaze up to there. That's where the camera is. Ironically, now, from my point of view, I'm not making eye contact with you because I can't see you other than peripherally. But from your point of view, I am, because now I'm looking straight down the barrel of the lens. So find where the camera is on your device. And it's fine, if you're listening, it's fine to look at the screen because you're looking at who's talking. But if you're hosting or speaking, then at least some of the time, make your eyes, lift your gaze to the camera and make sure you're actually making eye contact with the other people in the Zoom room. So ask yourself these questions. Do I have too much headroom? What's the camera angle? Typically we have too much headroom because our computer's down low, looking up the nostrils, and 15 acres of ceiling behind us, all right? What's your distance from the lens? Are you making real eye contact, or are you looking at the screen? Are you a silhouette with your lighting? And what's in your background? Have you got a pot plant growing out of your head? So things like, ask yourself those questions, all right? Because Zoom is much, much more than a convenient way of having a meeting, as far as I'm concerned. It is, in fact, a micro-marketing opportunity. Every time we're on Zoom, in this frame that we're in now, okay, it's a micro-marketing opportunity. So I think we're all a bit over Zoom these days. So let's go beyond that to standalone videos. And I refer to this as the digital version of you, because we need to think differently if we're using video, and we need to see things differently if we're using video. So really basic video stuff, there's all this jargon and acronyms and all that sort of stuff, most of which you don't need to know about at all. But the fundamentals are really important. So like shot sizes generally are expressed in terms of the human body. So a full-length shot is head to toe, a 3/4 shot is roughly head to knees, mid shot is roughly head to waist, a medium close-up or an MCU is sort of head and shoulders, and then we get close-ups, and sometimes you might use an extreme close-up, pretty rarely probably in business videos, but it's nice to know it's there. The MCU, the medium close-up, that is the bread and butter shot of television, film, video. We are so used to seeing that framing, we don't even think about it. We just accept it. That's how and most of us on screen at the moment are in an MCU, okay? If we put those shots into context, that's the MCU there, that's the bread and butter shot. So you get to see the presenter and some of the background. The close-up, you get to see more of the presenter, less of the background. And the mid shot is, again, there's a sense of expanse around us. And the wide shot is often used as an establishing shot because it gives us a sense of scale, okay, with the human figure in that broader environment. And I've got a really nice example, a great example of that, using it in that way.
So she'd have to go to a dry dock on the Atlantic coast of France. But there was only one dry dock on the Atlantic coast of France that was big enough to handle a ship of Tirpitz's size. This one. This is the Normandy dock in Saint-Nazaire. It had been built in the 30s when France was making giant ocean liners. And now, to make sure the Tirpitz could never have a home on the Atlantic seaboard, it had to be destroyed.
That's a really good example of showing that sense of scale, the vastness of where you're standing. And just as a bit of an aside, whether you like Jeremy Clarkson or hate him, he's a really, really good documentary maker. And that particular documentary, called The Greatest Raid of All, is fantastic. It's brilliant. So some questions to ask ourselves: what kinds of shot sizes and framing could you use for your business? And could you punctuate and enhance your business videos using a variety of shots? And what type of shots would best illustrate your product and or service? Okay, what kinds of shots do you think would best highlight what you do and what you offer? Speaking of what you offer, what's your content? What's your story? What's your business story? Who's your audience? And how do you package or repackage that story for the digital context and that audience? Speaking of context, what do we see besides you in the frame? What's your story? A bit of a strange question to ask. What does your story look like? But every picture tells a story. Every story evokes a picture or pictures. And if you look at the visual images, if you look at those there's like a holiday look, a corporate look, a festively nighttime look. So find visual images that underpin and support your particular business story. It's really, really important to always consider your background, and more importantly, always check your background. Some people don't. Why, I hear you ask, do I need to worry about aesthetics in a video about law or accountancy or mining or engineering? Because we're talking about visual storytelling. We're talking about the fundamental sense of a story well told. And so if you can find visual images that are not only relevant, but also beautiful to look at, you're going to attract the eye of the viewer and hopefully hold the eye of the viewer as well throughout your videos. So find nice pictures that are relevant. So when you reshoot your video, and please don't scrap the one that you just shot, but have a think about where you might shoot that with a relevant background or location. How can you show the story and show it aesthetically as well as tell it? Because if you show it, you don't have to say so much. And how can you best engage your audience with your human authenticity? So if we put all that together and take your business to the world from the globe of an idea to global, all you need, as you already know, all you need is your smartphone and the internet. You have an international distribution network in your back pocket. And there are many ways of doing that. I'll just touch on a couple. The first I call the shoot, butte, distribute model, which is essentially what we did a few minutes ago, okay? So you have an idea and you go, where's my camera? I'll shoot that, and you upload it. Done. Shoot, butte, distribute. By contrast, the more traditional method is the three-phase production model where you script it, you might storyboard it, and according to those documents, you go out and you shoot it on your locations or wherever, and then you bring it back and you go into post-production, you edit it, you might add graphics or sound effects or music, and it's only then that you upload it. Okay, quite two contrasting contexts. So there are many styles in between, and depending on what your business is and who your audience is, sometimes the narrative, beginning, middle, end, traditional narrative style works best, or you might have an interview where you're looking out of frame and you're having a chat with someone who we may see or may not see, so you don't have to look straight down the barrel. Documentary style, you might combine archival footage and voiceovers. Instructional, step-by-step videos, processes and procedures. Okay, they're really important to where there's a clear step-by-step process. Marketing, promotion, social media, etc. So social media is typically the quick, short, attention-grabbing stuff, the shoot, butte, distribute model. And all of these things cost money, okay? Traditional wisdom was that video is expensive. But if we have a look at the research, it tells us that the average spend of a video is between zero, for 42% of businesses, between $0 and $500, 18% between 500 and 1,000. If we add those two together, the first two together, 60%, the majority of business videos, they spend between $0 and $1,000. That's chicken feed. That is not even petty cash, okay? So it's all about you making a global impact, and doesn't have to cost the earth. This is the overall structure of a typical global media network. Pretty much, they have these departments recording content, and they have hundreds, if not thousands, of people that do all those things. Someone's got to record the stuff. They have on-air presenters. Someone's got to decide on the content, the visual style, etc. Your global media network has exactly the same facets and departments. The difference is that you don't have hundreds or thousands of people to do it for you. You've got you to do it for you, because you decide what kind of engagement, you decide the content, you decide the visual style, okay? So it's all about you making all those decisions. And I refer to this as the micro media mogul model. And I really encourage you to do it because you can. That's the best reason to do it. You can. You just need to think slightly differently to how we traditionally think about it. You've got to think like a producer, you've got to think like a director, think like a designer to some extent, you've got to think like an editor, and finally, think like a presenter. Okay, some of those things have overlapping dot points there, but you need to think, separate out and think like all of those different roles, not just the presenter. How you get there? Well, there's any number of ways of getting there. I'll show you my way of getting you there, which is the contrast between self-taught, and there's no doubt whatsoever that over time, if you're self-taught, you will learn stuff and you'll get better. Okay, I'll call this a simple interest model. By contrast, well, the trouble with the simple interest model is that everyone sees your trials and your errors. Okay. By contrast, if we look at the compound interest model, with coaching, you become more comfortable on camera more quickly. Therefore, you get more confidence more quickly and develop that visual vocabulary, and therefore that lends credibility, and that builds client trust until you end up proficient and professional as you can be. So the difference between those two, I call it the credibility deficit. On the way there, on the way to being fully proficient and professional, there are hidden benefits. And I call them hidden benefits because you don't see them until you arrive at them. And what I mean by that is that you become sufficiently proficient with the medium and understand the medium well enough to go, oh, okay, I can see how I can use this medium to maximize what I do and create my own unique content. Okay. As one of my clients so beautifully put it, how to get the most out of the medium. All right.
Well, what an absolutely fabulous day. Thank you so much, Kristen. It was just such an amazing time. I really enjoyed the workshop tremendously. I got confident and in a very short space of time in being in front of the camera. Learned some totally amazing tips, which I'm going to be putting into practice right away. In fact, I put several of them into practice today. I really encourage anyone to come and spend some time doing this workshop, because in a very short space of time you'll learn what it is that you need to learn with regards to how to be able to use the camera effectively and how to be able to be confident in front of the camera. So thank you so much. What a fabulous day.
That was the fabulous Myrna. So it's all about you becoming that leader, okay? And how we get there how I get you there is through Triple C Mastery Program. And very briefly, there's 3 phases: diagnostics, there's 6 weeks of coaching, and the outcomes are really important, because as any professional performer will tell you, you can rehearse until the cows come home, but until you get out there in front of an audience and present what you do in front of an audience, you don't really know whether it works, how well it works, whether it doesn't work, what you need to tweak. Okay, so the implementation of these outcomes is a really important part of what I do. There's a live presentation, there's videos that you post, and there's a webinar that you host. So that's the structure of that, and that's all about making that global impact. And that speaks to brand, reputation, authority, stature, professional stature, and leadership. Getting back to that word. And that is about transformation from business owner to business presenter. And we do that by getting comfortable, confident, and credible on camera.
Just finished a digital marketing seminar with Dr. Chris, and I must say I was a little bit skeptical coming into it, but learned a lot actually, and his advice and his experience in the field is amazing, and it's certainly something I'm going to be able to take into my business. I'm in the fishing adventure tourism game, and obviously digital content is huge, and I personally would like to stay in touch with Chris and keep developing those skills into the future.
Something to take into one's business is a really important thing. And I'm not sure whether Nick has mentioned this, but everyone who's here, I'm happy to send you a copy of this report, Going Digital, what you need to know before you set foot or face in front of a video camera. And there's a lucky Zoom prize. We don't have a door, but we have a Zoom. So there's a lucky Zoom prize. And I think Nick will later on choose who might be the winner of that. What that is a complimentary diagnostic session with me about the videos that you currently have, your business videos. Very happy to do that. And it looks at it from the point of view of your presence, your content, your context, who your audience might be, and your aesthetics as well. So that's on offer. And so if anybody has any questions, more than happy to have a chat and answer them. Thanks very much for your attention, everyone.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. Excellent as ever. You're the man with more slides than anyone that I know, but yet you hardly know that you've got slides in front of you. So I think one of the skills of presenting as well too is the skill of being able to know how to use your slides so that they're not a crutch. They're just a prop that you're using. So I have to say you do that very well.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll stop sharing.
Any questions or comments or how-tos or sort of things there that you've picked up that you'd like to ask Chris? Let's just open up the floor. You can unmute yourself, or in fact, if you put up your hand and then I can see you. Mike's waving his hand, so I see you, Mike.
Yes,
but just tap the raised hand, we'll see it. Otherwise, if no one's talking, just unmute. Mike.
Chris, is it okay to read?
We can't leave it open at night, so we've got to lock it.
Hey, Michelle, do you want to just mute yourself?
I thought that was another question, Michelle. Sorry,
I did
Mike.
actually have something I wanted to say, but I was trying to find the hand. I can't find my raise my hand button here.
Well, maybe you just mute for a sec while Mike, can you re-ask the question? I'm sorry.
Is it okay to read what you're recording?
To read the script, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, it is if you don't look like you're reading. And I haven't even mentioned teleprompters. And one of the great skills of teleprompter, you know what a teleprompter is? It
Yes.
scrolls. Yeah. One of the great skills in using one of those is that you are reading it, but you don't look or sound like you are reading. And that's the tricky bit. I mean, newsreaders have been doing it for decades, and they can make it sound fairly conversational. But when you first get a teleprompter, you go, "Hello, my name's Chris Willems," blah blah blah, you know, and your voice goes dead and your eyes go zigzag because you're reading. And it takes practice. It just takes practice and an awareness. I call it active awareness, where awareness is one thing, you know, being aware of something. Active awareness is being aware of that thing and doing something about it. Okay, so if you get a teleprompter, practice, and you almost have to sort of artificially put the inflections in that you wouldn't normally put in when you're reading. Okay, because it's got to come out as conversational. Yeah. Michelle, are you ready to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you for that. That was really good.
Thank you.
I am not afraid of the camera or the stage, but I find if I'm just having a general conversation, it's very different to when I'm like, okay, all right, roll the video, and everything just changes. And all that natural sort of thing just disappears.
It does. It's called the red light syndrome, and musicians in recording studios have that too. They can practice. It sounds fantastic. As soon as they hit the record button, the red light comes on. They stuff it up. Something chronic. It's yeah.
And yet I'm not afraid of the camera at all.
No, there's
something that just goes.
Yeah. This just brain switches. Will become bloody hell. You know, now I'm on camera, or now I'm recording my guitar piece or whatever. And it's to do with getting used to that. And there's a level of, yeah. As I said in one of the slides, it will never feel natural. Okay, it's not. It will never feel natural unless you've been a newsreader for 25 years. It's not going to feel natural. It's going to feel weird because you're talking to this bloody piece of glass. Okay, so you have to build in the naturalness, artificial naturalness, which is a bit of a contradiction, to make it sound like you're just having that conversation. So yeah, don't give yourself a hard time about it. Just accept that that's going to happen from time to time. Okay, and just be conscious of the inflections in the voice and keeping it conversational, even though you're looking at a bloody piece of glass and it's giving you nothing. Yeah, it's not giving you any feedback at all, like a human being does with eye contact. Yeah. Okay, that's the problem.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the problem, because I'm quite capable of moving past it. But I
imagine that all of you are very capable about your business. Yeah. Absolutely, but when the red light comes on, it's done mullet.
Yeah, well, not done mullet, but I just lose the naturalness.
Yeah, of course, because it's not natural. It will never be natural. Never feel natural. Okay, accept that.
And that there is one of the tricks of being in theatre as well. You know, you've got a script to read and you read it and learn it and learn it and read it and read it and learn it, so that at some point it becomes like you feel the character. And often when we're in front of the camera, we don't actually have that luxury of being able to practice something over and over again till it becomes ingrained in us that we feel it. But you know, that's really the advantage that theatre has. And one of the things I really enjoy is improv theatre. Chris and I were just talking about this when we came on.
And I've done a lot of that. I've done miles of it, and a lot of theatre, like theatre work.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't bring that across.
No, because again, Michelle, it's there's no people there. And even if in theatre, if you can't see the audience, there's a sense that we get from them, and they give us energy as performers. The camera doesn't do that. The camera doesn't give a shit. You know, it just sits there, and you've got to pretend. You've got to make it feel like it's natural when it's totally unnatural. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Michelle.
No, that's all right. I just thought, maybe there was a little trick.
Well, the trick is, just be content with the fact that you're human. Okay, we all go through that. We all have that problem to a greater or lesser extent. So it's finding your own way through that and talking to that inanimate piece of glass. Any other questions at all?
Yes, I have one for you. Thank you very much. Lots of good information there.
Thank you.
So if I do a video clip like this, is it a good idea to have the highlights of what I'm saying to come up here? Because we're then using more, like you've got there. So if I'm doing a speech, I get the highlights, or at least the takeaways written there, because I'm using three in actual fact, senses to get the message across. Is that a good idea?
It's an excellent idea, which is why I do it. And I certainly wasn't the person who thought of it in the first place. But as you're speaking, you can bring up dot point 1, dot point 2, dot point 3, which is the key words that you're talking about. And that's another reason why landscape is much, much better than portrait, because landscape not only gives you a visual context around you, it gives you space to do things like that, putting in extra information in, like logos and QR codes and all that sort of stuff. I follow Formula One motor racing, which you might have guessed that, and so often you see people with their cameras following cars doing 300 kilometers an hour and going, ow, and they're inverted. Cars are built in landscape mode, for God's sake. You can't follow a car like that doing 300 kilometers an hour. You can get you got a bit of room to move, but if you do it horizontally, and you'll also find that often on the news, someone sent in footage that's been shot in portrait, and what they have to do is fill up the rest of the other 2/3 of the screen with a blown up, out of focus, fuzzy version of that same footage. And I just find that really objectionable. And they must roll their eyes and go, "Oh bloody hell! Here's another lot of portrait." It's a really good video, but it's in the wrong format, the wrong aspect ratio. So my strong advice is to shoot everything in landscape, and then crop it if you need it for portrait, for those platforms, because landscape gives you options, portrait doesn't. I don't, it was TikTok and Instagram that want portrait or square or something, but the rest, we see the world in landscape mode. We drive our cars in landscape mode, looking through windscreens. We watch sporting events and concerts and movies in landscape mode. It's only these artificial devices that have made us go, "Oh well, we better shoot in portrait." Well, no, I disagree. I may be held down, but I disagree. What you want is flexibility. What you don't want to do is have to shoot things 2 or 3 times. Once in portrait, once in landscape. Stuff that. Shoot in landscape, crop it.
I would have to agree 100% with that, Chris. There's one exception to it, and that's doing Facebook Live videos, where if you shoot them in landscape, you'll just be sideways on the screen.
I know.
They want you to do it, but all the other times, trying to. But I forget, because I'm used to doing so many live videos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, it all comes down to context. What's the platform or platforms that you're going to put your video on? and then you just decide. And well, the other exception to what I've just said is if you're shooting, tall high-rise buildings or trees, then it does, it makes more sense sometimes to shoot them in portrait because that's the aspect ratio of the tree. But then you can also superimpose portraits on a landscape as a screen. Yes, Tim.
Mate, just an interesting perspective on that. Someone I was reflecting on recently with anxiety is that anxiety, you can control your mental state by sort of going to a balcony and looking at a horizon, right, which is a landscape mode. And when the human brain is stressed, it tends to get really narrow focused, portrait mode. And so I think potentially you could manipulate your marketing message by saying, do I want someone's real focus by going portrait, or do I want them to relax and feel at ease to consume the information by changing it to landscape?
What a great analogy. Thanks for that, Tim. That's fantastic. I hadn't thought of that, but you're absolutely right. Yes, because we're anxious, we think narrower and narrower. Yeah. And can I just, I was going to mention this before, Tim, but I'm not meaning to pick on you, but a good illustration, because Tim's wearing a fairly finely striped shirt at the moment. And depending on where he moves and how much sometimes see, it can strobe. Just move a bit slower, Tim, if you can, just a bit slower. Yeah. See it strobing? That happens especially with horizontal stripes. So
checks are the same, Chris, as well. Don't wear checks, don't wear stripes.
Yeah. So another
wear flamingos.
Indeed. Thanks very much for wearing that shirt, Tim, because it gives me the opportunity to just mention that because it's a small trick. And when I used to work at the BBC in the UK.
It's doing it right. It's doing it right now.
And they and they would come down. The costume designers would come down to the studio and hold up a piece of fabric in front of the camera and say, "Oh, this is strobe," and they'd move it a bit and they check before they made the shirt, the top, the dress, whatever, to make sure it wasn't going to strobe. And fine, particularly broad stripes are okay. Really fine stripes or checks, as Tim points out, are a bit of a no-no. And that's no matter how good the cameras get, it's still an issue. Thanks, Tim. Any other questions at all? It doesn't look like Gesundheit, Tim. Gesundheit. We can't hear you, but we can see you sneezing. Nick, is it time to spin?
It probably is. And just before we do that, I'm thinking if people do want to get in touch with you or find out a bit more about what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
I put my email and phone number in the chat earlier on, so it's in there somewhere. But my website is artsmediaconsultants.com. Just that's all one word except for the .com. Arts Media Consultants, ARTSMEDIACONSULTNTS.com.
Fabulous, excellent. All right, I'll just put that into the chat as well. Yeah. And while we're there, we do have that door prize as well. Just tell us what that is again.
Hang on, I'm typing. Sorry,
I was typing as well too.
artsmediaconsultant.com. Yeah, that should be right. The door prize is a video review of one of your business videos, valued at $197. And I check out your current business videos and see, and offer some suggestions, advice, or say, no, that's brilliant. Don't change a thing. But happy to do that, and we can chat about certain things, whether there's too much headroom or whatever. It's just an analysis of your current business videos and some tips about how you might tweak that for the next time you shoot it. So more than happy to do that. So
in fact, that video that we all took tonight is probably a good starting point as well too. If everyone saved their video.
Yeah, indeed.
Excellent.
And please don't delete those videos. Hang on to them, because when you do an even better one, because I put the pressure on you deliberately, so you wouldn't have much time to think about it. Okay. So when you do a better version of that or another version of that, you know what to work on. Okay, or what to be aware of.
Excellent. All right. Well, we do have our special way of drawing this tonight, which is our wheel of names. So let's bring that up. We've got everybody's name in the wheel of names, so don't disappear now. I just noticed Michelle walked off screen, sort of sneezing or telling a kid off or something, so she's bound to win while she's away. All right. Well, let's spin this wheel, see who our lucky winner is. As it ticks on round, there we go. Virtual drum roll on our desks in front of us. And our lucky winner is, boom, Enza Lyons. Are you here, Enza?
Yes, I am.
Fabulous. There you go. Well worth coming on tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. So what we'll do is we will put you and Chris in touch with each other by email. You can coordinate together and sort of work out how to do all that.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Well, excellent. Well, look, thanks, Dr. Chris, for coming in and sharing tonight. I picked up some tips again, so thank you once again for that. Hopefully, everyone here, I hope you all enjoyed the session tonight. It's going to help you with your videos, your confidence, and up your production. If you haven't started with videos, now's a great time to start. Well, in fact, you probably should have started because there was one video that you shot tonight, hopefully, with Chris. So definitely as a medium, that is something that it was helpful to invest in for yourself on with your marketing. So if you did enjoy this tonight, you want to watch it again, it will be up on the YouTube channel, the Smash Go YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon. The link for that is in the chat. If you haven't joined the Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group, now's a good time to go and do that. Just click that join button. We'll let you into that. Of course, you've got all of the content and apps and tools there as well. And now's a good time to remember to save the chat. So all of those links that are in there, for those apps, tools, Chris's contact details, all in there. If you're not sure where to save the chat, it is those three little dots up on the top right. If you click on that there in the chat, it'll save it to your computer. It will also give you the link to click on so that you don't have to worry about where you saved it. It will just open it up in your computer. That is our session tonight. Feel free to invite anyone else that you know that would benefit from this to come along next week. We're on every Tuesday, same time, same place. In fact, same link as well too. So I look forward to seeing you all again next week and have a sensational evening practicing those videos.
Thanks very much, Nick, and thanks everyone. Thanks for your attention. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nickcree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.